really hardly any negative emotions. And then, but in my case, I'd say also like a general fundamental okayness, wholeness, but also I'd say the positive emotions are very amplified.
Mm.
Because I'd say I've always been rather an optimist than a pessimist, but kind of always been quite calm.
Mm.
But calm could maybe before have been kind of a bit neutral about things. And nowadays, just I've become so much more like a child with everything, so much more free. That's physically the way I move, that I hug people all the time or touch them all the time. And I had been very controlled even physically. And, just more reserved is probably the right way. And nowadays, just more like a childlike curiosity and awe and wonder and excitement about things and lots of joy and also compassion and care. And that was one of the first things that I noticed. That was before FC, when you just notice that you don't decide in your head, now I'm going to help someone, or you just naturally act and then try to alleviate other people's suffering without making a conscious choice. And that has changed 100%, sort of the feeling of affection, of love, of care, compassion. That's really amplified big time.
Beautiful.
I'd say.
That's awesome.
Which is quite nice. Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
And kind of this being, seeing the beauty in the little things kind of everywhere. That's then generating positive emotions.
Yeah. It's so interesting that you talk about being already a fairly calm person, because I went, it was a few months back, I went to Jeffrey's University, and he had a meeting for FC people where he went over his data that he had collected from several FCs and collated the data. And he had this amazing thing that he showed in the data, which was that he took the well-being scores from people at the beginning of and FC and at the end of FC.
Mm-hmm.
And then the people that did not transition during FC, their well-being was lower when it started than the people that transitioned.
Yeah, okay.
When FC was finished, both parties had moved up in their well-being, but the people that didn't transition, their well-being went up to where the starting point was of the people that did transition.
Yeah.
The numbers were just uncanny. I mean, if it was like, just for example, the people that didn't transition started their well-being at 1. And the people that did transition started their well-being at 5 and went to 10. The people that didn't transition started at 1 and went to 5.
Yes, that's amazing.
Yeah, they just went right to the starting point of where. So it just showed that, because you're talking about already being pretty much a calm person, it triggered something for me, because I believe that I've seen. We're having all these different hangouts, and I believe that I've seen that the people, some correspondence between people that transitioned, that they were already stable, calm, emotionally people, as opposed to people that had more trouble transitioning, or people that were more mentally busy, or more just maybe thought dominated kind of people.
It's like when I was a teenager, I was always feeling kind of, that everybody has a path in their life which is filled with tons of stones and rocks. And I felt that until I was a teenager, I moved a lot of rocks out of my way, and there were only little stones left. That's how the rest of my life has been in many ways.
Wow.
And so I always had this introspective side, and I've always been quite calm.
Great.
but also because my childhood had this certain things that needed resolving. So everything comes at different times.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we go to sensory perception?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I don't really know if I've had many changes in my sensory stuff. Like vision, I think, is about the same. Auditory, smell, touch, taste. I don't notice any differences in any of those. So I don't really have a whole lot to report with that.
For me, vision is a huge change. It was also as part of the transition was it's kind of seeing that this body here, but everything else, including my stepmother, was just a vibrating energy field. And ever since that, like when I look into space or when I look at something, just for like a touch longer, like really look, then I see light or I see it vibrating. So everything seems alive. Not if I glance at something just very quickly, but then it's like just a mental note. You don't really look at something. But if I really look at something, it has its vibrational quality. Like I see how light comes together and forms an image, and that I clearly didn't have before. So I see the contrast, I think, between light and shadow a lot more than before. Colors seem brighter, more vivid. But sometimes maybe it's just if you're more present and really looking at the things, maybe that's what it is. But that is definitely different. I also see quite well in the dark, which I also didn't do before. But I feel before it's also kind of, it's dark, you're not seeing well, and that's why you're just not paying as much attention somehow. And I see more things. It's just there's more noticing of things. Hearing, I'm not sure. Smelling, oh, it's unstable again. Smelling is definitely more intense. But again, I feel it's just like if you're present and your mind is not so full. When I walk through the street, there's tons of smells everywhere. But before, I was just, my focus was just on rehearsing a conversation I would have next in the office or something like that, or being stuck with a conversation with my partner. So as this is not happening, there is just a lot more that I notice.
Yeah, I think there was a cartoon that says all we're doing is rehashing and rehearsing.
Can you say that again?
Yeah, there was some kind of cartoon or something where the guy said the punchline was, well, all we're occupied with is rehashing and rehearsing.
Yes.
Rehashing
So if
the past and rehearsing for the future, and we're not here. Not right here.
Yeah.
Well, these visual things you're mentioning are mentioned by Jeffrey as definite markers of a transition.
Yeah.
That's great. Both the night vision and the greater intensity of day vision.
Yeah, I think it's a day vision, but it's also this. What comes with it is that the space is alive.
Yeah, the sparklies.
The sparkles, and but you see, like I don't know, I'm not sure what it is, but it's really like light sparkles as well.
Yeah.
Or it comes with, again, I have no idea really about angels or something, but there's always not in every room, but often I can see sort of like just a blurry field somewhere that's moving. And that seems to be like a presence or something. And I didn't see that before. Clearly not.
Awesome. Great.
Synchronicities.
Yeah, that's a misspelling. It's supposed to be synesthesia.
Synesthesia. Okay.
Well, no, it's not a misspelling. It's in the wrong category.
Okay.
Synchronicities have nothing to do with sensory perception.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
We can replace that with synesthesia. So, do you have that?
Only once. It
Oh.
was, but it was very interesting because it was a day. It was my birthday, and it was a day where I had meditated a lot with one of the Dr. Bob mantras, and I was extremely spacious and felt extremely connected with the whole environment. And on that day, there was kind of I was in a bathroom in a club, and there were sounds like beats, and I saw them kind of, it was, how do you, like kind of geometrical shapes, green and blue, like in the rhythm of the sounds. But I was really, really spacey, but that only happened once and never before or after. But it was a very special day.
Powerful. So it seems to me actually like clubs are designed to try to create as much synesthesia as they can, in a way, because they have the lights pulsing with the sounds.
Yes,
You can't really tell the difference between them.
Yeah.
You know, and then the kinesthetic, the floor is shaking as well. So all the senses are actually getting merged together with, especially like electronic dance music.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, in this one, was more, let's say, a private members club, and you could hear a little bit of the beat. So it was not one of these big clubs. I was literally in the bathroom and heard some music, and so it was not.
Okay, it wasn't overwhelming.
No.
Okay.
It was just a little bit.
Yeah.
Did you have any synesthesia or any of that?
No. I've never. I don't think I've ever had synesthesia, really, and certainly not since I've started, FC or EC. Yeah, I don't think my I don't think that my sensory things have changed, except the only thing related to that is that my sensory sensitivities have reduced somewhat. You know, I honestly think that that's a technical, like I said, it's a brain issue. And I think if I can do some certain types of neurofeedback, that's going to go away. You know,
interesting.
I'm not even sure it's related to PNSE. I just think it's just a way that my neurology is, honestly.
Yes.
But I've been working on it on my own. I think it's probably not so easy for me to fix it with my conscious mind. But I believe that if I can just reduce that sensitivity, that's going to change really my whole life, because it's been a big component of my touchiness or irritability, like for example, if I'm in a room with 10 people and outside there's a very loud noise, it starts up, I would be probably the only one to plug my ears or maybe want to leave the room. Everyone else may irritate them, but they won't actually physically feel assaulted.
So you basically you feel these things stronger. Was it always
like a bright light or sounds are a big one. The tolerance for sensory extremes is very low for me.
Yes.
And,
so you experience it amplified. It sounds.
It feels, when I hear a loud sound, it feels like a physical shock. It feels very painful.
But maybe that can be part of the transition, because I was at a Rupert Spira talk earlier this week, and there was a woman who spoke about kind of, waking up in the non-dual way in India, doing lots of practices in her personal suffering, and everything has gone away. The only thing that she has been facing ever since is that she's absolutely exhausted, and she can't cope, for example, with sounds. It's so so painful for her that she gets massive headaches, for example. So it's basically, he then said her body hasn't caught up with it yet.
Well, this sensitivity has been my whole life, though, actually.
Oh, has been. Okay.
Yeah. I remember as a kid, I would probably about 5 years old, I was in the front yard playing, and I can hear the sawmill operating like a block away from our house. The whining of the saws and grinding through the wood, and that how much it bothered me. It's almost like this, the sounds are almost like they're piercing, you know? And I'm just wondering how much of this is genetic, because my dad has a hearing problem. But so he can't hear very well, but he has hearing aids. So what happens is they just amplify everything. So when he hears a loud sound, it really bothers him a lot, because the hearing aid doesn't stop it; it just amplifies it.
Yes.
I have, regular hearing, but yet this loud sounds that's one of the things as well. But it's just kind of an overall sensory touchiness. I think it's actually to most of the senses, because like spicy food, bright lights, loud sounds, even being like jostled on the street, when you're walking and someone knocks you. And to me, it's like an offense. It's like, it's almost like they tried to do it on purpose. I'm offended. It's just somebody knocking you and they don't mean to do it, but it's like, I take it personally. So.
Do you still take it personally?
This all has reduced a lot. Well, at the same time, I found ways to deal with it. And one of the ways this would torture me a huge amount was because this all affected my sleep. Because unless everything is extremely quiet, extremely dark, the bed is just perfect, sheets are just right, I like a list of 70 different things has to be right, and I can sleep. Otherwise, no. But I found some workarounds. Like, all my life I probably could have been using earplugs to sleep, and only recently have I started.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's almost like as I get more healthy, the solutions that I could have been using also appear as well. Very odd how that is. But I think that working through this sensitivity will really clarify everything, because, like I said, I think it's a different vector really than the PNSC. It's just I think it's neurological.
Or maybe it's like kind of, I don't know, maybe you were kind of in somewhat PNSC all your life, but certain situations dampen it, and maybe that's why you were more sensitive.
Maybe.
Have you spoken to Jeffrey about this?
Not in this detail. This is really probably the only time I've talked about it in such detail as now. Yeah, I think that, I don't know. I have a plan, though, to deal with it. So,
okay.
Memory. Shall we go on?
The only thing I wanted to mention about touch, I just noticed touch, because I found that interesting. Like now, when my foot touches my partner's foot, for example, in the bed, or my hand on his hand, and it's still, and there's like a melting and a merging. There's no difference. Kind of like the boundaries, they go away.
Nice.
So that's also something that's new in terms of touch.
Yeah. It sounds to me like, this all is, from your side, it just seems like it's fitting in with a deactivation of the default mode network, essentially. That's just what it sounds like, And I think on my side, it's a different story. I think it's really more so maybe a little bit of reduction of the default mode network, but more of healing and peacefulness, combined with a lot of realizations and insights, both from the spiritual stuff I'm doing outside of Jeffrey's stuff, but then a lot of stuff from the Jeffrey thing as well. What's really funny is that I have on my computer this document about a technique to get rid of trauma, which is called ICE. ICE. Yeah, that's the acronym. So this guy has developed this way of bringing up traumatic memories, and then you go into the second step is you go into a null space, or just simply go into awareness. And the third step is you go back to the memory and you notice that it's changed because you've been in the middle, you've been in oneness or awareness. So it's a 3-step process. So I said, well, I'll try it, but I tried to find some traumatic memory in the past. I couldn't.
Exactly. I was like, where would I find that?
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. Is that it's almost like there's this little meta loop that wants to continue the story, that everything's not okay, but when I specifically look, like, well, this is okay, and 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 the list is pretty much everything is okay, and it's like, well, where's the actual evidence that nothing is okay? It's not there.
That's fantastic, though.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, it required that type of penetration and really objectively looking. Well, what is actually bothering you? Nothing. It's almost like there's just an odor of being bothered left. It's almost just like a scent of it, but the reality of it is like, now, and I think also my criteria is that I'm going to be into a non-dual consciousness, which hasn't really happened. Every consciousness is non-dual, but that experience the woman talked about at the Rupert Spira workshop,
yes,
or the things that you've been describing, I haven't had those experiences. And I think my mind is going, well, until that happens. And you're not getting anywhere, but I've been forced to realize that that's not the case. I mean, something so really significant has happened.
But it's also, I find, like, kind of, as long as there's a mind and there's some kind of voice in the head, which will always be the case, it would always try to tell you again, oh, you still haven't got it, or something like that. I think. Yeah,
that's just its role.
And I heard that once, like, well, you can only, this sentence, you can awake again every single moment. Your old experience is not relevant, and it's not relevant even if you were triggered a moment ago, if you right now see it again in some ways. And I think kind of, I noticed that on a retreat recently, that's kind of, there are these amazing kind of, there is no body, there is no nothing, and amazing stillness. And then you walk to lunch, and then there's maybe a thought coming up, oh, what's going to be there for lunch, which tries to bring you back into the identification.
Yeah.
So I think it's always trying. And the moment you start believing in that part, then that's a re-identification again. But that doesn't mean that you didn't have certain experiences that you wanted to have before.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, the ability to believe in the BS has really gone down. I can't really believe in it anymore. I mean, there's what we call triggering is really unconscious being hooked into the belief without your willingness. But the more you look at it, so it's almost like when you talk about awakening every moment, to me, it's almost like every day the film is getting thinner, so to speak. The bullshit is just it's being less and less credible. It's not like gone, but it's almost like saran wrap, more layers coming off, So shall we talk about the memory then?
Yes, I'm just sticking this in.
Okay.
Okay, memory.
Yeah. My memory has been dodgy for quite some time, even before the FC. The last few years, and I was forgetting, particularly where objects were
Mm-hmm.
that I owned. Like my glasses or whatever. Where I'd put something down. Remembering appointments. One of the categories of thoughts that's been reduced is I used to keep lists of stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had a written to-do list, but I would be juggling, I need to do these 10 things. It's almost like I just can't do that anymore. I don't want to, and it just seems repulsive, and it's almost like I refuse to do that.
Mm.
And so I was getting so bad that I made a point out of training myself now to remember where I put things, and it's dramatically better now. But I had to consciously get onto it,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just realizing that this is just something that I'm managing, because I think as the story, the narrative or the story, there's not even a narrative self. There's just a narrative that thinks it's a self. And as that has basically gotten wounded, so to speak, or it's gotten many insults to it, then the I need to do all these things was attached to that, or I need to remember this. It was important because of the narrative. Now it's not. The narrative is less powerful, so it's not as important.
Mm.
So there's less caring about remembering it, and there's less remembering it, and there's less. If I don't remember it, I'm getting even over being irritated about that as well. So this might sound weird, but it's almost like memory is not as relevant anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it makes sense. If thoughts are not so relevant, and kind of the narrative, then the same comes with memories. And also, I guess, if you do show up at the wrong time, it's also less relevant, because that's just what happens, kind of. So there's less beating up about kind of missing an appointment or something.
Yeah, I think before, my criteria for life was how much I cared about A, B, C, and D. Is like the level that I cared was the level that I was being a good person, or you have to really care about it. And now, don't care. And I think I've graduated from a jaded kind of who gives a crap, not caring, into just a calm absence of caring without any negativity. It's just like, it doesn't matter. There's still a few things that matter, but they're less, And as far as my personal history goes, it's very difficult to take it as seriously now. I know that it's a story that happened in theory. I also know that parts of it, I think, did not happen. So it's just a recording. It's not. It has lost its official status. Let's put it that way. For me. So.
I think what I noticed memory is, like you said, it's not so important generally. And also, maybe partially it's because I also work for myself and the type of lifestyle, but everything feels just like time is not so important. Mm-hmm. And like if someone asks me, says the weather was really nice on the weekend, what did you do? Like, I never quite know, was the weekend just yesterday or was it already 5 days ago? Yeah. What did I actually do and how was the weather? I don't really remember. Of course, then I can get to it if I'm kind of systematically work my way back, but this is stuff that I no longer know, and I'm not so precise. And like, if you look at my storyline, I was trained as a lawyer and I worked as a board level headhunter. So there was a lot of structure and a lot of remembering people, remembering people's stories, remembering company names, data, all of that type of stuff. I pretty much forgot most of the clients' names or companies that we did business with, and the people's names as well. I also often know I know people from somewhere when I bump into them, but I don't quite know from where anymore, for example, which is also change. Appointments, I mentioned them before, that started happening now, quite a bit. But then it kind of was the reason. Not a reason, but I feel maybe it coincides with, it's not actually that so important feel, or I notice whenever I'm too late for something or too early, I exactly bump into a person that needed me at that point, or something else happens, some kind of synchronicity. So actually my plan of a day starts to matter less and less and less, because and maybe I give up agency more and more and more, because I feel particular over the last maybe 8 weeks or so that it's just like everything is orchestrated in some way, and it does not really matter what I think is important. And even it doesn't matter anymore if I do something in my official business or I just end up in a situation. It's just this kind of really giving up of control, and that's why if I'm late or early for an appointment has zero relevance. So there would not be, it's no judgment of my part. Of course, if I were late for a client, I would apologize, because that's what you do with the normal mannerisms. But for me, it has less relevance.
Yeah, it just seemed like it would be much harder to control someone like you now.
I think, and at the moment, well, I don't think I could work for anybody anymore. That's for sure. But I also notice right now it's for the first time, because I've always been, I don't never saw myself as disciplined. But if I say I give up coffee, I give up coffee. If I say I go to the gym, I go to the gym. Then it used to be always kind of what defined me. But once there is not so many, I want this, so I wish that, then there is a bit of a vacuum, kind of, let's say, in terms of how you operate vis-a-vis other people, because I feel at the moment there is no internal drive of doing things, more of a completely letting go and allowing to be taken where naturally go, which is something that I'm observing at the moment, and that's a huge change, I'd say.
You know, it's funny that you're bringing up this going with the flow of life thing, because my girlfriend has been in that for a long time. And I have had a hard time. One of my conflicts was that I could not get her upset and get her driving to solve the problem and get angry at the problem. And she would just be like, everything is fine. And I'm like, you don't care because you're not upset. And what has happened really in the last few months has been, it's almost like I'm being forced to see that everything is being taken care of kind of in its own way. And it's even whether I'm resisting it or not, it's like I'm just being dragged into this reality where we are somehow being taken care of. And it's almost like I don't want that. I want to fight to survive, and I want to win the battle, and I want to have a battle, but the more we don't do, so to speak, it's very difficult for me to let go of being the one who's doing the doing. But but yet it's almost like it's being shoved in my face somehow, and so there is a flow going on that we can't really comprehend the whole landscape, so to speak, of it. And,
it's interesting, like kind of I'm jumping a little bit to synchronicities or abroad in the flow. I have been experiencing the flow and synchronicities for quite some time. But now it seems as if I have come up at a very different point, where before I was more observing synchronicities, and there was kind of just a trust in general in things, making right choices or right decisions. To at the moment, it's really like I don't need to make any choices. Everything is always clear and shows up exactly where it needs to be. And there's also no preference if it's, because before I used to see with synchronicities, I was more looking at, okay, what is good for this entity still?
Yeah.
And now it's like there's this like kind of, if something does not work out here, I know it's needed somewhere else. It doesn't make any difference. It's even more, I guess, going with the flow and not even attempting to control, or not even attempting to knowing. Like kind of last week when there was this little relationship crisis, so my friends, they are like, well, now you need to decide this or that. What are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I really don't know, but I know I will know, And it's like not thinking about it. And I think that's also different. Like you might even have some emotional reaction about something, but it's no longer this need to take action and to decide or to analyze situations or things, which has gone completely.
Yeah, I mean, I can identify with what you said about the synchronicities in the past were definitely something that I was trying to, like, if I noticed a synchronicity was good if it lined up with what I wanted. And that's what the universe is supposed to be doing, what I want. And now it's just really more of like realizing that you're not in charge. And the synchronicities, as I used to call them, have become irrelevant, and it's more of a sense of being taken care of, and not because the great thing about the synchronicities, well, now I can now that I see it, I can recognize that this is for my advantage, and now I can line up with it because that's what you're supposed to do. You're a metaphysical person. You're supposed to notice the way the universe is working and get in line with it. And now it's really more like that's almost silly now, really. Or it's irrelevant,
Exactly.
I can't even think that way anymore. And I almost feel like something's missing or something I should have. Like my I used to be like, okay, I'm going to create this reality. And in my memory, I did do that. I would like plan A and B, and then I would make it happen, so to speak. At least I thought I did. And now that's I can't really get that whole engine going anymore. It's really more like I'm kind of like in an inner tube floating down the river. There's not so much I can do about directing the river, but it's going to good places. I mean, so.
And also, and with everybody else, it's this like kind of like when you see people that are stuck in some kind of trouble, or like with everything, it just, to me, everything just flows like it's supposed to be, and everything seems perfectly orchestrated, and there's no need really to. There's like no need to do anything. And even like a day, like kind of, and I see it also in these little things. Like today, I didn't have a plan for the day. I was invited at this friend's house. Wasn't really sure if I'm going, because I didn't think about it. And I took a shower, looked at my watch, and I was like, oh, it's just half an hour before I was invited at this place. So I sent a text that I'd come. I just arrived in time when they left the house to go to a park, which I didn't know. So it was, again, just, played itself out absolutely perfectly. And it was not that it's not even this, you need to look at your watch to be somewhere on time. I find it's often you just kind of just at the right moment you're looking at the watch, not even intending to, and that just works out perfectly. So there's so many things. Or you mentioned you needed to make an effort where you place things. I so often find that the things I need the next morning, or you place things at a certain anywhere, and the next morning you need to leave the house, but go maybe to the bathroom before you leave the house, and all of a sudden my house key is in the bathroom already. And that's how I find it. And it's kind of, and it's like, is life actually lived backwards or forwards? Like sometimes I can't even tell that, because it seems,
who's in charge?
Yeah, things somehow where they need to be.
Right. So it's almost like changing from this illusion. I didn't think it was an illusion, but of being a director, orchestrator, to a spectator, almost, really. And the spectator can enjoy or resist, but it doesn't. I mean, the resist is just false anyway. There's nothing, you can't really resist. You can emote, I guess, basically, is all you can do. I mean, or you can just bliss out, or just, if you want, just because it's all somehow, it's almost like there's a conspiracy going on to make everything okay. Whereas before it was like there's a conspiracy going on to screw everything up.
Yeah. But and there was exactly particular. Let's say I used to be very ambitious in those types of things, and it comes with a lot of doing things, making things happen, and always trying kind of to have the last word or things like that. And that
winning in life.
Yeah. That's fallen away.
Yeah, it's a non-starter. It seems to me like the brain is in some ways almost like a zero-sum entity, because you get this increased awareness and acceptance, but then all these other things go away. We had a guy that was in our FC small group.
Then at the same time, the good thing is you can use the brain when you need it.
Right, but I'm just saying that.
Like that's what because I must, maybe 2 years ago, there was this idea, if there are no thoughts, or you're not controlling anything, can I still perform or give a good presentation or something? And I noticed now that I'm not even preparing for meetings anymore. We're rehearsing, but there's much more information coming out of my mind than before. Or out of my mouth. So it seems to be there when it's needed.
It's weird. So it's really weird. Okay, so there's sense of self, and some of these don't seem to be having to do with sense of self, which I'm not sure what that is actually. So I think the intuition we've already covered for me.
Yes.
Introversion or extroversion. I'm probably definitely more introverted now in some ways, but I'm also feel like I'm more present when I'm around people. That one seems almost irrelevant. I don't know how to even relate to it. Introversion or extroversion is based on you thinking that you are someone, and that's in question now. sense of being incomplete. I think essentially, as long as somebody's around to feed me, I'm okay. Really, I mean, that's a basic, my biggest need. Do I accept myself more? Well, that's almost a non-applicable question.
I feel the same about this one. It's
Yeah. It's like I don't even know what that means now. So I used to have a major sense of mission in life, and it had to do with my career and helping other people spiritually. And I would say if there's any mission left, it would be somehow relating to PNSE, or maybe just being present to help anybody that needs help in life. That would be about it. But I can't sit down at this point and write a mission statement. It just seems laughable. Yeah. Like who is going to have this mission? And have I become more aware of my shadow side? Well, I think I've become more clear about some
There was a
aspects.
naked baby. Sorry, that's why I was momentarily distracted.
Okay.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey.
How are you?
Hey,
Talk about in the moment. Yeah, that's all I can say on that whole category.
But I interrupted you when the naked baby distracted me. Be aware of my shadow side. Well, I think this whole process is becoming aware of blind spots. You know, being aware of blind spots is a paradox, because the minute you're aware of one, it's no longer a blind spot. So definitely blind spots are being destroyed. And then when there's a disturbance, what happens to your sense of okayness? Well, not much. I mean, it's just the kind of irritability thing. But I think I have a handle on that. So that's it. See, introversion or extroversion. The classification doesn't really make so much sense to me. It's more, I noticed in FC initially, there was a real draw to spend a lot of time just by myself and meditating, basically. And now I think it goes in phases. It's like more, I either need to recharge my batteries and be alone and be more spacious, or I can be with people, but with people it's mostly around probably helping other people. So there's maybe in some ways more of a draw to be with people, because that's also my job. But I would say it's less about if I'm more extrovert or introvert. It's more, I would interpret it more as sometimes there's a pull in being a little bit quieter for a day. And then on the other days, I'm out and about. But there's probably less need of, maybe there is less of need of kind of sharing my opinions or my story, which was kind of more important before.
Sure. Yeah, very important.
Sense of being like, I feel very complete. But in terms of people, I think that I really had a long time. I liked certain things before. Clothes were one of them. So that is definitely, I still enjoy wearing nice clothes, but I haven't bought things. So that is definitely also a change. Like you said, do you accept yourself more? That's almost like a non-applicable question, because who is yourself? I mean, there is this sense of fundamental wholeness, I'd say. mission is maybe more than what we're doing right now. It's this kind of generally integrating more of the realization into to the rest of your life, that it kind of fully, the outside fully reflects what I feel or what my experience is. So kind of this, that's kind of the major thing. And then the rest is like, I'm not sitting there and thinking like, what will I do with my life, or what's my
Right.
It's more like kind of a trusting that it's all played out in a certain way. More aware of the shadow side. I notice certain behaviors, kind of like how in the past, how the ego could have manifested itself in terms of being attached to an opinion or judging someone. So I sort of have none of that anymore, and I see these things now. Now, as they're seen, they're not having much importance, but I clearly see those things more than I saw in the past, I'd say. Then the shift in self-identification, before and after, I think what happened to me was also more gradual with the shifts. I think there was one location before the FC, but I never analyzed my experience. I never had any metrics to compare and contrast it. So I didn't really know, but there was a clear moment in 2012 where I noticed kind of this part in yourself that's so peaceful. That's always peaceful, no matter how much turmoil is out there. And that never went away, while there was still quite a lot of narrative at the time. And now it's more kind of, it feels everything appears in awareness. And that's the difference, kind of. And a clear knowing of the spaciousness, the timelessness at all times. So when there's a disturbance, what happens to your sense of okayness? That never really changes, because the disturbance happens in the sense of okayness. Do you want to ask a question?
Can we swap places?
Where should I go?
You go into Otto's room.
Otto's room. Okay, I need to go into another room again.
Okay. It's a movable feast.
But the good thing is you get to see the house.
Yeah, it's a tour.
Yeah.
Oops. Now we have a dressed baby. Hello. Good night.
Sit there.
Thank you, Esther. Okay. This is dark. Let me find another space. Yeah, like you said, there is not much disturbance, and when there is disturbance, there's never only disturbance. The disturbance appears in the calm and quiet, and so the okayness doesn't go away.
Well, I'm thinking that I've covered about as much as I'd like to today.
I think we covered a lot, and I don't think we need to move to have a work list if we work through all the questions.
Yeah, right. Keep pounding away for hours. Can we segue to something that's not an interview topic? Can I just turn the recording off?
Of course.